Cool. All right. So welcome to Freedom Fasting. We call it Freedom Fasting for two main reasons. One, that I really hope that people experience the freedom of doing a fast where they can actually tune into their intuition and really use the body, maybe for the first time, to really let you know what it needs and what it's doing and where it's at. And so it really is about tuning into your intuition. Yes, doctors will tell you not to fast and all that sort of stuff, but it really is about using your own intuition and your own body to determine what you do on a fast, how long you go for, what sort of fast that you do, that sort of thing. The second one for the freedom part is freedom from ailments. I don't know about you, but the fasts that I've done really weren't actually to lose weight, funnily enough, a bit like Chris. They're actually to heal the ailments that were in my body. As I've got older, I've certainly got more stiffer. I broke my leg, and was really causing me some issues. I had a lot of inflammation, a lot of swelling, and I really just wanted to be free of that. I wanted to get up out of bed and not be stiff and sore and trying to get moving again until everything warmed up. So that's why freedom fasting. All right, let's have a little introduction to fasting. So I do have to do the disclaimer thing. I'm not medically trained, but I have had a real interest in nutrition in particular. I remember as young as probably 11 or 12, I was reading books on nutrition. I was into sports, and I was reading sports nutrition books. And it's just my own personal experience of fasting. I've done some great fasts, and I've also done some really shitty fasts, and I swore that I would never do them again. Thankfully, I did do them again, and I started to learn a lot more about how to do them right, so that they were happy fasts and they're also really safe fasts. And that's the really important thing. So this is my personal experience of extended fasts, not just intermittent fasting, which, as we talked about, most people are doing, which is great. But these are extended fasts, and this is what we're talking about. Fasts can be 100% life-changing, and they can heal a lot of things, but they can also be quite dangerous if they're not done right. And so I want to talk about how to do them right so that they are safe. And results obviously can change according to each person. So, what we show and what we talk about here may not be indicative of where you're at, but hopefully it is, and you're getting some great results. And you are responsible, 100% responsible for your own fast and the decisions that you make along the way. But safety is definitely really, really important on the fast. It's the number one factor. So if you need medical assistance on a fast, then please go and get that. Don't hesitate to get that if you really feel that something's not right. And if you're on medication, probably see your doctor first. Your doctor's probably going to tell you not to fast because they're not safe. But if you can find a naturopath or somebody that is open to more alternative healing methodologies, then they might be a good person to talk to. I'm not, as I said, I'm not a doctor. I'm not medically trained, so I can't probably give you individual things about what you should and shouldn't do if you're taking medications on a fast. But I guess my general overall thing is, if you need to take food with the medications that we need to have food as you're taking your medications, then you need to find a workaround for that. But as I said, above all, using your intuition to guide you. So first question, main question, what is fasting? So fasting is the absence of food, not having any food at all. And in this case, we're talking about water fasting. And I'll also touch on juice fasting as well, which I know a couple of you have done here. It is known as the oldest cure in the world. So long before we had antibiotics and all the different medications that we have today, people would just fast. If they weren't well or they were injured, they would actually be given the prescription of go and lay down, don't eat any food, and just rest the body. And that's really what fasting to me is all about. And I guess therapeutic fasting that we're talking about is to give the body a rest finally. So when it's digesting constantly, we're all shoveling food into our mouth at 1,000,000 miles an hour. And when you're fasting, you certainly notice around you how many people are shoveling food into their mouths. We're usually taking in far more than what the body actually even needs. It actually doesn't need that much food. But we are putting a lot of food into our mouth, and the body is either digesting food or it's healing itself. And so it can't do both at the same time. And so as long as you're digesting food, you're not healing. So there's a big difference between fasts and diets as well. And I know diets have been a big thing, and even religion, different religious orders and things like that will say, don't eat meat, or only eat meat, fish on Fridays and things like that. Technically, they're actually diets. So diets are not the absence of food. They're actually cutting down calories and maybe restricting a particular type of food or the number of calories that you're taking in, but you're still taking in some calories. And what that's doing is spiking your insulin, spiking your sugar levels, and it's also requiring digestion. So it's going to be a lot slower on a diet to actually have the effects that you can have on a fast, the healing effects of a fast. The other thing about diets is generally you'll start to put the weight back on again because you feel like you've taken food away from yourself and you want to have that again. Whereas on a fast, funnily enough, it's the opposite that actually happens. One, your metabolism speeds up when you're on a fast, and when you go back off a fast, your metabolism strangely has sped up. A lot of people say when you take food away, your metabolism slows down. On a fast, that's not true. And also, it's resetting your relationship with food. So on a diet, you're pretty much just giving the ego fodder for, you've taken food away, now I want it back again. It's that sort of little kid inside us all. But on a fast, I found this, and many other people have found, that you'll actually start to reset that need, those cravings for sugar and fats and all those things. And you'll actually start to stop binge eating a lot more. And I know that, the difference that I've experienced actually is quite massive. Fasting is not starvation. Starvation is where people don't actually have food and there's no opportunity to get food. And so it's a very different mentality when you approach fasting. It's a very deliberate thing. You're going in knowing that you are not going to have food. And so that mentality that you take into that is really important. Intermittent fasting, there's different types of fasting, as I talked about. Intermittent fasting is a big one at the moment. A lot of people might be doing 16-8, which is a really big one that people do. So you will fast for 16 hours of the day and not have any food. And for 8 hours, you have a little 8-hour window and you'll eat within that time. 18-6 is another one. There's all different. You can do whatever you like, basically, within the 24-hour period. I normally do about 20 hours fasting and 4 hours of eating between 2 p.m. and 6 p.m. at night. I find that works for me. Jodie needs a longer period of time. So again, just using your intuition when it comes to intermittent fasting. Juice fasts are also very big. And I know a couple of you said that you have done juice fasts. I'm going to go through the difference between an actual juice fast and a water fast in a little bit. And so you can make a choice about which one suits you better. And partial fasts, which I said is they're actually really just diets. They're not really fasts because a lot of the time people are eating, even on Ramadan, people won't eat from, sun up to sundown. But after that, they're gorging themselves oftentimes on massive amounts of food. So to me, that would be a diet and not a fast. So they're quite different in the way that the body will react. And I know religious fasts are not really for healing as such. They're usually for connecting with the higher self. So here we're talking about extended therapeutic water fasting. So for extended periods of time, anything from 48 hours to 72 hours to 40 days if you wanted to do a water fast. And there's plenty of people that have done 30 and 40 days on a water fast. But the whole idea, as I said, of a fast is to give your body a break, a chance to catch up. Because when it's overwhelmed with so much food all the time and so much digestion that's going on, there isn't any healing or very little healing going on. And your body is just getting overwhelmed, which, funnily enough, leads to illness and sickness and things like that. So when we get things like cancers and tumors and all those sorts of things, the body just hasn't had a chance to catch up and do what it needed to do with the material that you were putting into it before the next lot of food came in. And it got overwhelmed. And of course, if you're taking in lots of chemicals and just the types of food that you're eating as well. And to me, fasting really is for prevention. We should be all fasting, taking times to fast before we get to the stage of needing to cure things. Because in a fast, you're healing 100% of the time. So you're taking away the whole digestion thing. Remember, you're either digesting or curing and repairing. So if we take the digestion away, we're actually healing 100% of the time, which is amazing for the body. And it's running 24/7. So is fasting even safe? Can I die on a fast? Fasting actually is really safe, but you've got to do it right. And the human body actually is really used to having fasting periods. Back in caveman days, there were oftentimes we didn't have any food at all. And our human body has not changed all that much in that time genetically. So our bodies remember what it is like to fast. And it adapts very, very easily to a fast as well when there's no food coming into it. So normal weight people can easily fast for 40 days. When I say easily, they have the body fat to be able to fast for 40 days. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but it is possible to fast 30 and 40 days unless you're anorexic and you've got very little body fat, because that's what the body is actually going to use as fuel. And we'll see that very shortly. But as you go along, you must ensure that your body gets what it needs. It needs certain things. And the main thing it needs is electrolytes, which is minerals, because they do so many important things, functions in the body. And without those, you really will be suffering as well. So we'll look at those and what you actually need to take in. So what does it take to get results, to heal, to have all these healing and these great healing things that people have been talking about and that we're going to dive into? To me, fasting is 10% strategy and tactics, and 100%, well, 90% at least, maybe 100% mindset. It's really important to have your mindset right and to make certain decisions before you dive into a fast, and we'll go through those in the tick, to really know why you're fasting, because you're going to come back to that. Your why is going to be really important as you go along. It's going to get hard at times. Just know that. Just if you accept that it will be difficult at times, then I think it's easier to go through. And there will be hunger and cravings and things like that. But they only last the first 2 or 3 days. So that's the good thing about it. Once you
I was gonna add to that. It's sort of like the hard part really only is those first couple of days. After that, you're really just so much more in tune with your body and your intuition. You'll know when to start sort of refeeding and coming back out. So don't think that, if you're going to do a 5, 7, or even a 10-day fast, that it's going to be hard and laborious the whole time. The only hump to get over is kind of day 2, maybe day 3. That's it.
Yeah, it's very true. And that's because of how the body's adapting to the fast. So it will actually adapt as it goes. So let's have a look at what actually is happening inside the body as we fast. So from the first 1 to 12 hours of not having any food, our digestion is starting to slow down. We're getting the food out of our body, and the glycogen, which is what the liver creates glycogen, and that's the energy source that we usually run on. So if you are not doing keto, I'm not talking about keto people. If you are doing keto, that's a very different thing, and I'll bring that up in a moment. People that are not doing keto are running on glycogen that's created by the liver. So what you'll start to experience in the first 12 hours, which is really amazing, is the human growth hormone starts to kick in. And that's responsible for anti-aging, fat burning, oil healing, supplying the muscles, rebuilding muscles, and rebuilding all parts of the body, really. And so that kicks in really early on. So if you want to anti-age and you want to fat burn, you definitely want to get to that stage at least. So in the next period there, by the time we get to the 18-hour period, what they call autophagy starts. So autophagy is basically the body starting to replace itself. So all the old damaged cells and the tissues and things that are not working anymore start to get to be replaced. The old proteins that that might sit in, if you've got moles and skin tags and things like that, that's excess protein that's actually sitting in your body. It doesn't know what to do with it. So it starts creating these little lumps and bits and pieces and lumps and bumps. And all those it's going to start using the protein from those things. It'll take it back out. So you'll find that skin tags and lumps and bumps start to disappear. I've had moles and things like that. They've actually been quite raised. I had one on my head that was quite raised here, and now it's completely flat after doing a water fast because the protein was taken back out of it. It's quite amazing to witness what's going on. And the plaque that sits in the brain, which can then lead to Alzheimer's and dementia, actually starts to be taken away as well and removed. And that's happening after 18 hours. That's pretty cool. So after a day, 24 hours, you really are starting to decrease the glycogen stores in your liver, and the body is starting to shift. Here is where you'll start to get headaches, feel pretty crap, because the body is switching from what it normally knows as its energy source into ketones, and ketones are burning fat. So the body will burn fat to create ketones, which feeds the body. So that's a good thing, is that it's going to start using the fat from your body. The ketones also suppress your appetite. And so you start to feel a little bit better. You're not craving food as much. And the inflammation in your body starts to really reduce. And it happens really quick. Where I broke my leg, it was definitely very swollen. I couldn't bend my leg very well. My knee only had a very short range of motion, and my ankle wasn't very good either. But I would say after 2 or 3 days, and I would say that was a pretty full-on inflammation and scar tissue and things that were going on, I pretty much had full range of motion back in my leg. So that was pretty amazing. So people that are on a keto diet already, you pretty much jump into the 24-hour time slot when you start, because you're already burning fat and your body's already creating ketones. So if you're on a keto diet, or you want to start a keto diet before you start fasting, that can be really beneficial. After 2 days, we're actually stimulating stem cells. So stem cells are actually cells that have not been given their life purpose. There's no mission for them yet. So they can go into any type of cell or tissue. They can be created into anything, basically, that the body needs. So they're really, really important. That's why stem cells are used for creating sheep and cloning sheep and different things. You're starting to get more healing and more repair, definitely more anti-aging. And again, those tumors, skin tags and things like that, they're all tumors, little small tumors. But if you've got bigger tumors and cysts, those sorts of things, they're going to start to be reduced, which is pretty cool. And at 72-hour mark, just 3 days, you're going to get more stimulation of stem cells. You're really going to start amplifying what the body is doing in terms of healing. It's basically going to replace the entire immune system in 3 days and heal more ailments. And the longer you go, pretty much you're going to have a new body out of it. Because if you go long enough on a water fast, the whole of your body will be replaced. All the cells and damaged cells will be gone, and you'll have brand new healthy cells. So it's pretty wild.
Yeah, I just really want to make that impact there, just as you change the slide. It's like the first 3 days is probably your hardest. The first day is usually dead easy. It's day 2, day 3 that is the hardest. But just think what a goal if you get to that 3-day mark and your body is starting to renew cells.
Yeah. So let's have a look at what people have reported, or doctors have reported that people have healed, because I think this is really important. So reduction or disappearance of damaged tissues, scar tissues, tumors and abscesses can disappear. Your whole immune system, as I said, is replaced in just 3 days, which is quite amazing. Your metabolism is fully restored to its optimum state, which is the opposite to having a diet and being on a diet. Your insulin resistance will lower, and type 2 diabetes can actually be healed on a fast if you go long enough, or you do enough fasting. Reduce chronic inflammation and swelling, which, I've experienced before, and I've got some photos of my ankle. I'm sure everyone's probably seen that by now, but it's pretty wild. And reduce symptoms of heart disease, cancers, autoimmune diseases, and rheumatoid arthritis. So anything that involves inflammation in the body, the symptoms can be dramatically reduced and actually cured over time as well. You're going to look and feel younger. Yay. People have reported longevity out of increasing with fasts, tons more energy, maybe not on the fast itself, but certainly afterwards I've experienced a ton more energy, and just the ability to exercise and recover from exercise so much more quickly, lift heavier weights and not tire during an exercise routine as well. So all of that is available too. Improved allergy symptoms, improved conditions for neurodegenerative disorders like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease. And for those on chemo, improved body resistance to the chemicals and the poisons. So fasting, definitely if you have cancer or if you're going through chemo, you would want to be checking that it's okay to do that. It's not always appropriate to do fasting on that, but it definitely can help for sure. What about the mental side? The mental side probably is even more amazing than the physical attributes of the fast. So self-awareness is really elevated as the ego just seems to take a back seat. It's really quite strange how food seems to bring the ego out. And I've experienced this as well. It's like just the absence of the ego all of a sudden. You become more aware of your body and the processes it's going through. You can really actually feel what's going on inside for a change. You become more aware of your life. You sit there and contemplate and ponder things a lot more. You become in that sort of meditative state. You can see what your body likes and what it dislikes. You're putting food back into it. And if it doesn't like it and you're starting to feel sick, you can discard it and go, you know what, I'm actually done with that food now. Or just take little bits of it and keep it minimal. So you can have more self-confidence and certainty. And I found that I was tolerating bullshit a lot less in myself and other people. I was just really wanting to be authentic. It was just that real need for authenticity while I was on the fast, and since then too.
I will absolutely say that Nat was happier, which is weird.
No, it's true. Yeah, I definitely felt happy for no reason whatsoever. And prior to that, we'd been traveling. I'm talking about my last fast that I did. I finished a couple of weeks ago, 14-day water fast. And prior to that, we'd been traveling for 3 or 4 months, and I should have been in a great mood because I'm a traveler and I love traveling. But I really did feel myself, no, I wouldn't say depressed, but just in that real ho-hum, like whatever sort of space. And once I started fasting, total shift in my mood and my happiness levels. And I just felt joy. Like, I can honestly just say it was just joy coming through. And I was like, wow, everything's just amazing. Like,
Hannah's actually said you were incredibly serene when she visited us. So there's another word for you.
True. Yeah, that's it. Ability to think clearer. I definitely was finding that on my fasts. This whole content that I put in this masterclass and the course that I'm putting together was written in one day while I was on a fast. It was on the last few days of my fast, and I got up one day. Jodie said, why don't you put a fasting stuff together, because you really love it and you really like talking about it to everybody. And I was like, yeah, actually, that's a really good idea. So I just like brain dumped so much stuff. And intuition really was there as well. It was just flowing, completely flowing. Feelings of euphoria. I must say, when I came off my last fast, I felt really almost depressed. I wanted to get back on it. I don't know, there's something about being on a fast that just felt really good. And I really did feel that euphoria. Emotions were very stable. I didn't go through a lot of emotional upheaval. Some people do when they go through a fast, because when you burn fat, your emotions are stored in fat, and so you're releasing those emotions. I was having lots of weird memories about different things. I think I've done so much work on myself over the last 20 years that there probably wasn't a lot of emotions that I hadn't already addressed, but certainly some weird memories that I've not thought about for like 20, 30 years were coming up. It's very strange. Breaking the emotional eating dependencies and cravings. This was a big one for me. I am a massive sugar head. And thanks to our family, we're all a bit like that. So it was really nice to break that and not have, now I don't find myself wanting to go back to it either. So it really does feel like it's broken. And I'm sure the more fasting that I do, the less that's even going to be there at all. And a greater ability to handle stress. Can't say that's really one for me, because I don't feel like we have a massively stressful life anyway. But so this is my experience. Here's some crazy photos. This is actually from my last fast that I did. I did 7 days of juice fasting. So a couple of days before the water fast and a couple of days after, and the 14-day water fast in the middle. So it was about 21 days in total. So I lost about 1 pound a day, which is about on average. If you're in average body shape, you're going to lose about 1 pound of fat a day, which is very cool. Some people would say that it's water weight. There might be some of that mixed in as well. Strangely, if you're actually having a water fast, well, you'd actually lose water in the first place. But yeah, it mainly is fat, because that's what it's burning. The ketones are burning fat. So you can see the difference here. One of the big ones, though, that, as I said, it wasn't really my goal was to lose tons of weight, but it certainly was to heal my ankle and my knee. And this was the swelling I used to have. My mom has very bad circulation, and so we tend to have that in the family. And she's just had another varicose vein operation at the age of 80. So it definitely is not great in our family. And that was another reason why I really wanted to go into that fast, was to break some of these hereditary ailments and conditions that are obviously in our genes. And you can do that with enough fasting as well. So this was my ankle previously in January, and it came out not too bad. There is still some swelling here on the sides, but definitely nothing like it was previously of doing the fast. not great photos. But it does. I just wanted to capture sort of how my skin was looking at the time. Obviously, coming from Australia, I have a ton of skin, I wouldn't say skin cancers, but skin sun damage, definitely to my face. I've certainly got some parts on my side of my face, on my driver's side in Australia, that has pigmentation and things like that. But I just noticed that my eyes seemed brighter and more open. The skin cancers on my arm actually had healed. They were, in fact, scabbing up at different times during the fast. And even now, I found one yesterday doing the same thing. They were scabbing up and then they would just come off. So that was fixing itself as well. And just less bloating in general. Obviously, I lost weight, so that would be some of this as well. But just the general bloating that I felt all over, I just felt like I was holding so much fluid in my legs and my stomach, and that seemed to really heal as well. Has anyone got any questions so far?
Well, we're doing great. Travis and Hannah have given us their update on whether they've fasted before. Travis actually been doing a 48-hour fast every week since February, but he's missed a few weeks here or there, and just did a 60-hour one. Hannah's question was, can this help with skin issues? And yeah, everyone's just been sort of updating what they've been doing.
Yeah, definitely. Skin issues, absolutely, 100%. Fasting, don't forget, is not a cure in itself. Fasting allows the body to be in a state where it heals itself. The body is tending towards health. It wants health, and it wants to be healthy, but we just keep shoveling food into our mouths the whole time that it doesn't get a chance to do that. So you're giving the body optimal state to do its own thing, for Mother Nature to come in and actually heal itself. And so, yes, just about anything, I feel, can be healed. There's a video of somebody that had stage 4 cancer that, if anyone is interested in that, I can give them the link to that video. Fascinating interview with a guy that was on stage 4 cancer, testicular cancer, and actually healed himself through fasting. So I feel that just about anything can be healed.
This statement is always, and whether you believe it or not, but basically this incredible machine that we carry around as our meat suit literally has the ability to heal itself given the right environment. Yep. So the right environment takes in all sorts of things, like your actual environment outside of your body. Fasting just helps get that cleaning up on the inside as well, which is producing the right environment. So perfect time to go into up there with the best of them for sure. Famous fasters.
Hippocrates, which is one of the 3 founders of Western medicine, or modern medicine, as they would say. And he said to eat when you are sick is to feed your sickness. So, and I 100% agree with that. And you'll find that's why the body actually doesn't really crave much food when you're not well. When you've got the flu, you tend to just want to hunker down and not really eat anything. And that's the body telling you it just wants to fast. It actually wants to heal as fast as possible. And the best way to do that is not to add food to it, where it has to digest the food as well. Pericles is another father of modern Western medicine. There's 3 of them. Fasting is the greatest remedy with a physician within, allowing the body to actually do its own healing and be its own doctor. Plato, who was an ancient Greek philosopher and writer, many of us probably know Plato's work because we've studied it. I fast for greater mental and physical efficiency. And he also required his students to also fast. To actually study under Plato, his students actually had to fast as well, because he knew what the benefits of it were to the mind and mental clarity that would come from that, and the ability to tap into the intuition at that point. And Pythagoras, if you've done any high school maths, you'll know Pythagoras' theorem. Not that you probably remember what it is. But he systematically starved for 40 days before his infamous exam at Alexandria, believing that it increased the mental perception and creativity. And now, since then, these are ancient scholars and philosophers that were doing these things and tapping into fasting. Now we have science to back it up and go, actually, we were spot on, like 100% on the money of why you were actually fasting for, and the mental clarity that comes with that. Actually now has science behind it. So yes, it was actually true. Jesus Christ, Buddha, and the Prophet Muhammad also believed in the healing power of fasting as well, and they were known for fasting. So there's a lot of people that have fasted over the years and over the centuries, and so you are amongst amazing minds and scholars when you fast, and you can see why. Once you're on a fast, you'll understand the depth of that. All right, so I've been saying that there's 5 phases to fasting, just to break it down. And the first one probably is the most important one, and that's actually making some decisions about what sort of fast you're going to be doing and how long that's going to be, and why you're fasting. The next part is the pre-fast. So we can break that down into a couple of stages so that we're easing our way into fasting. Don't do what I did in Canada a couple of years ago and actually just stop eating one day and start fasting for 5 days. That was the most horrid experience ever. It's just like ridiculous headaches the entire time. So we want to make this enjoyable as much as healthy. So there are a few hacks to do that. And I came up with a few hacks, or, I've read about a few hacks over the time, and I wanted to bring those in as well and give you those because I felt that they really helped on the fast as well. And to make it more effective and a little bit easier for you. Refeeding is coming back into food. And this is a really important phase, because if you stuff that up, that's where you can pour your weight back on. So people that say, I took all the weight off in a fast and then I put it all back on again, that's probably because they didn't actually enter into feeding again in the right way.
It's not even just the weight aspect. You can get really sick. Like
Yes.
if there's going to be any danger to fasting, it's generally that part where it's like, can't wait to get my big roast dinner or my 3 hamburgers and all my trimmings. And it's like, no, your machine has just had a full grease and oil change as such. It needs to slowly come back online with working out how to work the digestion again. Otherwise, it'll just clog up and you can get really sick from it.
Yeah, you can feel really sick. And even myself, who went back very, very slowly into feeding on this last fast, actually have had a few things, and I've said to Jodie, I don't feel very well now. I have to go and lay down. Was it too soon? I don't know. Maybe it was just foods that I shouldn't be having anymore. I don't know. Like but it definitely is a very important phase, that refeeding phase. And then, of course, talking about the lifestyle aspect of fasting. This is not just a one-off, I'm going to do it for a week or 2 and then that's it, I'll never do it again. Bringing fasting into your lifestyle so that you don't have to cure things, you're actually preventing things before they even start. So to me, that's actually even more important than the curing that can happen on a fast. All right, so let's have a look at the decisions to be made. Should I be fasting? So there's some people that shouldn't be fasting at all. And if you fall into any of these, then it's something to look at. Individuals with eating disorders, or if you're severely underweight, that's because we're actually using the fat from the body to fuel the body during a fast. It's using fat to turn into ketones. So if you're severely underweight, you're not going to have that amount of fat that it needs. And so you just have to be very careful of fasting. Pregnant women, newborns and young children, probably self-explanatory. Extreme athletes who are in season. The main reason for that, or anybody that's actually working out or wanting to work out, do lots of weights, and they're in a regime of that and they don't want to break that, I would not suggest doing fasting, because the body, for explosive exercises like lifting heavy weights or fast running, requires glycogen in the liver, and fat is not enough to be able to supply that sort of energy that the body needs or the muscles need in that sort of exercise. So you're going to find that fasting is not very appropriate for you. Individuals with type 1 diabetes who are insulin dependent, you have to be just very careful of fasting because of the effects that it has on insulin levels. People on meds that I mentioned before, if you require food while you take your meds, you just need to be a little bit careful of that and come up with some other strategies that you can work in. And individuals on different medications for diabetes, anti-seizure meds, and so those sorts of steroids. So anything that impacts the blood sugars, you have to be very careful of as well. All right, the big question: should I juice fast or should I water fast? I'll go through this and then I'll tell you my thoughts on what I feel is the best thing. So a juice fast obviously can be mentally a lot easier than water fasting, because you feel like you're taking something in and you're getting some nutrients and vitamins still, which is terrific. The idea of having juice over, say, a smoothie where you've put a whole apple in and a whole banana and a whole orange and mixed it all up together, the whole idea of having juice is that you're taking the fiber out, because the fiber is the thing that takes digestion, like energy in digestion, and takes longer in digestion. So you want to try and minimize the amount of digestion you're doing on a fast, on any fast you're doing. So that's why we say juice fast as opposed to, say, a smoothie fast.
And I'll just keep, maybe if you are taking any notes or anything, if you think of smoothie for pre-fast or refeeding. So your smoothies are the brackets around the fast, because it's going to be your soft fruits, which is getting you prepared, soft fruits or vegetables, getting you prepared for the fast, and then refeeding coming back out. So that's juice or water only, though, in between.
Yeah. So a juice fast, even though you're not taking in any fiber, you are still digesting. It is taking energy away from your healing to digest that juice. It also spikes your insulin and your blood sugars, so that can keep you out of ketosis as well. So ketosis is the part where we're burning fat. And if that's important to you, then you might consider not doing a juice fast and doing a water fast instead. If you're doing intermittent fasting, I would do intermittent fasting as well. So if you're going to do a juice fast, I would only have juice for an hour or two a day in that window. And you don't need a lot of juice either. We're only talking like a liter or two. We're not talking you drink nothing else other than juice. So it really is a water fast with a little bit of juice thrown in to make you feel a bit better. So a juice fast does take longer to achieve the same results, the same healing results as a water fast, and the same weight results as well. A water fast is the fastest way to heal the body. It will get you into ketosis as fast as possible, and it will actually keep you there. So you're burning more fat, you're losing more weight, the blood sugars are balanced, and you're going to start to have less insulin resistance. So it's going to start to heal that, whereas a juice fast probably won't do that. It's balancing the blood out a lot more, and it fully rests the body on a water fast. So yes, it can be mentally tough the first few days, but as Jodie said before, it is only the first few days, and then you're going to start to cruise along a lot easier. My strongest recommendation would be to water fast over juice fast. If you feel like you can't jump into a water fast, then juice fasting is a great way to start, for sure. But I found I wanted to juice fast, and I went for a day or two, and a lot of people report the same thing. You go for 2 or 3 days maybe on juice, and then you go, you know what, I am so sick of juice right now. I just want a water fast. And so you actually decide to go to a water fast after that. It's actually really hard to stay on a juice fast because the amount of sugars that's coming into the bloodstream, and the amount of sweetness, that everything tastes really sweet when you're on a juice fast, and you get a little bit over it after a while. So just something to keep in mind, maybe start on a juice fast, and we're going to talk about this.
Well, yeah, I was going to say in that decision part. So let's say the decision, you decide you're going to do that 3-day fast. Perhaps your first time, do a juice day, do a water day, do a juice day. And then either side of that might be the smoothie. So it's like it's a smoothie, a juice, a water, as a juice, a smoothie type of thing coming in and out. But we're going to talk a lot more about that kind of, is it a 3-day, a 5-day, a 7-day? And, have they got those buffers or those brackets wrapped around with some juice, while you can try to get that maximum benefit of the water in the middle of it all?
Which brings us to, how long should I fast for? So as I said, the average human body can tolerate about 40 days of water fasting. Anything over about a 3-day fast, you probably should have some degree of supervision or be checking in with someone that's fasted before, just to make sure you're okay. But the body will actually preserve muscle as long as it possibly can, because muscle is really important to survival. If we think back that the body hasn't changed that much since caveman days, when we were running away from prey, we needed muscles. So the body is not going to use muscle. It will only use it as the last resort. And so it will burn as much fat as it can. So funnily enough, when you're fasting, you're probably thinking, oh, I'm going to get really slim. And you do. But then a lot of people still got that podgy stomach, like it just won't go, because the body is using the fat around the organs first. That's the most dangerous fat that you carry, is that, can't remember the word, something fat in your organ, around your organs. So it's going to take that first. So it doesn't look like you've lost a lot of fat to start off with. And then eventually it's going to start pulling fat from other areas that is a little more aesthetic, if you like. So if you wish to fast for longer, than a couple of days, and you're really trying to heal something, then definitely get some supervision over that. Or do shorter fasts, do 5 or 7 day fasts, but then do more of them, which is what Trav's doing now, which is fantastic, like doing more regular fasts. Because don't forget, fasts accumulate with each other, they compound and they're exponential. So the more fasting you're doing, you're exercising, it's almost like a muscle. You're exercising your fasting muscle, and the body knows that, oh, I'm going back into fasting mode now, and now it's healing mode again, and it'll do it a lot quicker. So the more you fast, the better off you're actually going to get at fasting. But it really comes down to your own intuition. What sort of things are you trying to heal? Why are you fasting in the first place? What do you want? Are you trying to lose weight, or are you trying to do other things that heal the body? So then that would determine how long your fast should be for. So if you think about the first couple of days is actually the body adjusting itself and trying to get into the healing mode, you probably want to do something about 3 days or longer to really get those. So the longer you go, the more healing you're going to have, and the more things that are going to happen inside the body. Again, just use your intuition to guide your own process. You'll know when to stop. Your body will tell you. So you'll really know when it's time that you're finished, when you've actually, or if you've healed everything that you wanted to heal in that particular round of fasting, or your appetite returns and you just feel like it's time to eat again. And I'm not talking head, oh my God, I just feel like a hamburger right now. I'm talking about your body saying it's time to eat now again, and to come back off this. So you will know that because you'll tune into that.
Can I just quickly add that story about me and bananas? I'm not the biggest banana fan on the planet, but coming out of my 5-day fast, I literally could not think of anything but a banana. It was like, I need to have a banana. So I feel like, and it takes somebody like Nat to know that I'm not a big banana eater, but it was like, I felt like I was more in tune with my body to say, okay, obviously I need potassium. And that was the first thing that I ate to break my fast was a banana.
That is weird. knowing Jodie. So when should you fast? There's never going to be a great time to fast. Everyone's busy. Everyone's got 1,000 things on. I really feel like you just need to block out a time in your calendar, make the commitment, and just do it. Get on with it. Don't get to a point where it needs to be a cure and not prevention. Certainly in the first couple of rounds, we might be curing things from a lifetime of abuse and getting up to no good. But after that, then do it regularly, so it is a preventative thing as well. And you really do have to block it out of your calendar, let everybody know you're doing it. Sometimes they're not as happy as, oh, what am I going to eat? Or how are we going to make this work? Or blah, blah, blah. You just got to go with it. Just go, no, I'm doing this. Or get them onto it. Get them fasting as well. That's even better. Should I work while I'm on a fast? This is a good question. So many people do continue on with their life. There's no reason why you shouldn't continue. You might find it difficult in the beginning, as we said, the first 2 or 3 days. So I would give yourself space in that time. And my way of doing that, if you're working, Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 type thing, not everybody's doing that. But if there's a chunk of time where you're not working, and for some people it will be from Friday night until Monday morning, then start your fast on Friday night after dinner. After you get home, have some dinner, finish off, and then that's it. So you're going to have those first couple of days that are probably the worst and you don't feel so great, actually on a weekend when you're not trying to manage a whole bunch of things, and clear your schedule as much as possible. Fast is about rest. It's not just about resting the digestion. It's about rest overall, because we just never do this for our body and for ourselves. So take the time to rest. Once you've hit that 3-day mark, you'll be in ketosis and you're going to feel 100% better. The body loves being in ketosis. It loves the energy and the fuel of fat to fuel itself. And so you're going to be fine after that. You're going to have a clearer head after that as well. So you're going to be able to get into work a lot more. Exercise. Should be doing any exercise while you're fasting. Again, the idea of a fast is to rest the body. So yes, you want to be doing some movement, because don't forget, a fast is releasing a whole bunch of toxins that you've probably never released before. Even on a cleanse, you're probably not releasing toxins as much as you do on a fast. It's very thorough in getting through the toxins. So you don't want to be doing heavy exercise like weights and all that sort of stuff where you're taking energy to heal your muscles again. Because if you're doing plenty of weights and you're doing massive runs and things like that, then you're damaging your muscles and your body's going to have to go and heal that before it can come back to healing everything else that you're trying to heal on a fast. So definitely move. You want to be doing some movement. but don't do heavy exercise. And you're not going to be able to do it anyway, because as I said, the glycogen in the liver is just not there anymore. The muscles don't have glycogen to do these explosive type exercises. But things like yoga and Tai Chi and things like that, that just get into all the joints, perfect for being on a fast. How will I handle home life and socializing? This is a big one. And a lot of people talked to me about this when I was on the fast as well, because we actually had tons of socializing when I was on my last fast. It was amazing how many people we had passing through our hometown. My way of approaching it is try and keep it as normal as possible, because I really found that if I was trying to make it a big thing, or it was a big thing, and I was trying to be different to everybody else, then the ego grabbed hold of that, and it was really making it into a really big thing. It was making it even bigger than what I was, making it out to be. So I felt like just keeping it as normal as possible, helping Jodie with meal prep and being involved in that process, because that's what I would normally be doing, going shopping for groceries, because that's what I would normally do.
Hannah just reminded us, Nat, that you actually cooked a meal for the group of us while they were visiting us.
I cooked pizzas for people, and pizza's one of my downfalls, particularly homemade ones. I love them. So it was quite funny because Hannah's mum was there as well, and she goes, "Oh, you didn't come out," sort of thing. And I said, "No, because I didn't want to be there while you ate it, because I knew that was going to be really difficult for me. But I was happy to make it, funnily enough," which was really strange, because it was just sort of this disconnect of just making food for everybody that was there. Yeah, I think you just need to manage it. If that works for you, that worked for me, just trying to keep it as normal as possible. If you feel like you just need to remove yourself completely from life, and from meal preps and shopping and people eating around you and things like that, you've got to do what feels true for you and follow that. But I would, if I was you, entertain the idea of trying to keep it pretty normal. Always have everything you need on hand. If you're doing bottled water, make sure you've got that. I'm going to talk to you about making veggie broth shortly as a little hack. Make sure you've got that on hand. Make sure you've got what you need, so you're not running out, like suddenly you're thinking, "Oh crap, like I'm actually really starving, and now I don't have anything. I need to go out to the shops." Go out and socialize. I did. One thing that I did make sure that I did was have plenty of water before I went out, because if there was any time that I was hungry, it was because I hadn't had enough water. So by topping up, a couple of liters of water even before I went out, or having water while I was out, mineral water and things like that, really did help, because when you're hungry, that's the worst. That's definitely when you're out. But also be conscious of what comes up. And it was really interesting while I was sitting there with different people eating, of just observing how much food people actually eat. It wasn't just, maybe people I was with, but observing other people or watching TV and watching people eat on TV. And it's like, holy crap, we eat a lot of food. And it just made me really appreciate that. And I was like, what, maybe I don't need that much food now. Maybe I only need like one main meal a day and a little snack after that. And funnily enough, that's pretty much all we eat now. That new movement that's coming in of one meal a day is a pretty big movement. And I sort of agree with it in some ways. And we are starting to live a little bit more like that as well. So it was interesting to see the gluttony of people around me. And it's like, wow, this is what I'm normally like. And I probably don't need to be like that at all. So it's pretty cool. The big question, and I'm going to get some feedback here. Jodie, you can read out some stuff. I want you to really think, now that you know of all the stuff that can happen on a fast and the healing that can take place and the weight loss that can take place, why do you want to fast? Like, what would motivate you to fast? And you don't have to just have one thing, could be a whole bunch of things, but put it in the chat, and Jodie can do a little readout. As I said, the last fast that I did, the last water fast, was to really start breaking that hereditary predisposition for ailments, because our dad's really quite healthy, but mum has got probably about 40 or 50 things that she has, and I'm not kidding when I say that. She's near 80 now. She's just about to have her 80th birthday, and she's just in pain the whole time. She's at the doctor's constantly. If she's not at the doctor, she's at the hospital for something. Like, it just goes on and on and on with medical stuff. And I just went, you know what? I'm done. I don't want that. I don't want to carry that into my older age. I'm already starting to show signs of things. I feel like I've got varicose veins happening at the back of my leg that was broken. And I was like, if I can fast, I don't know if it'll work, It hasn't 100% worked yet, but I think it's helped. But if I can fast and try and get rid of that, then that's exactly what I'm going to do.
So I know that Nikki had made mention about the hereditary, breaking the cycle kind of thing. Nikki, if you do feel to share, and just while you're getting unmuted there, Carolina's saying total body reset, more clarity and intuition. Hannah is healing, anti-aging, weight loss, mental clarity, less pain, aches, stiffness, varicose veins. Yes. So Nikki, you've got mum stuff as well.
Yeah, my mum turns 70 this year, which is not a very old age, but she's struggled with ailments probably since she was early 50s, which is the age I am now. And every time I see her, the one thing I take away from it, as much as I love being with my mum, we have a good relationship, but the one thing that I take away from it is I don't want to be like my mum. And it's awful. You hate yourself for saying it, but it's like, I don't want. And one of the things which some of the things that she's suffering from are hereditary, and I've got the asthma, arthritis, all those sorts of things. So for me, if I can do anything to not go down the same path that she's gone down, then I will do. And that's my biggest sort of, I mean, I'm a foodie. I love food. I love cooking for people. I love, ingredients. I love sourcing ingredients. I live, breathe, and eat food. You guys know that. And it's, for me, doing something like this almost takes away a part of me. And that's one thing that I'm scared about too, if you know what I mean.
It's really interesting that you say that, Nikki, because it's almost like it's so easy to actually kind of flip that to say, what if you give yourself more? It's like, if you're going to give yourself that grease and oil change in order to enjoy, because you enjoy good food, you're not into
absolutely.
junk food. You're not into junk food and crappy food. You cook from scratch. You do fully nutritious type food. So it's like, this is actually a giving, not kind of a taking away.
But what do I replace that with? So that's my question. For me, I've got to, if I'm going to do a lengthy fast, I need to figure out what I'm going to replace those things with. But anyway, that's something for me.
Sorry, I'm not understanding. What do you replace what things with?
No, so I think I get where Nikki's coming from, Nat, because I believe your next few slides, if you did want to go on, because Nikki, there is some quite deep sort of psychological stuff that happened with Nat with regards to replacement of the food. And it's difficult when you've got a husband who loves his food and loves your cooking, so there is that support factor required. But even for you to sort of go for like giving yourself permission to look at that 3-day experience, just knowing how that feels, it's just like Nat said, it's starting the fasting muscle. It's like you're starting to experience it. Even if you go into just 1 day a week for like a 36 to 40 hour period, 1 day a week, and see how it feels after that. Because I'm sure you could do from, say, like, end of day through to lunchtime, the day after the day sort of thing, whatever the 40 hours works out as, because you don't want to do it as in when I wake up, because you've already fasted for 12 hours. So you got to count that in, but I think that there's some of the stuff Nat's going to talk about coming up is definitely Mandy said she's got a husband like that too.
Jumping ahead. Yeah.
What did Mandy say? Sorry.
Mandy said that she's got a husband like that as well, who loves her food and loves her cooking. So yes, it makes it a bit difficult for the the support aspect.
Support, yeah, definitely. No, I totally get that. Yeah, I think there's ways around it to make it easier, Nikki. And so I will talk about a few of those things as we get into the fast. So
I just wanted to point out that there's not a lot to go, like, even though it's 5 phases, this is sort of the quick and easy part now. So we can definitely do more Q&A at the end, just in case anybody needs to head off. But
definitely entirely up to you. I decided to go meat free. It was sort of in combination. It wasn't really for the fast. I sat down and watched a 4-minute video about what happens to animals in the meat industry, and that was enough to turn me vegetarian, almost vegan-ish, as Hannah would say. And so it was something that I was doing anyway, but I did find that it was a great prep, because meat can be quite inflammatory to the body, and it also takes a bit to digest. So if you're starting to give your body a bit of a rest from meat, then it can be a really good way to start getting into a fast as well.
Can I just get you to go back to the slide before that, just to like really like phase 2? No, next one. Like we're literally moving into phase 2. So phase 1 is the decision, and
Yep.
the pre-fast. The pre-fast, if you guys have, I mean, a few of you have said you've been to retreats or kind of, health centers, and they quite often say to you, hey, can you please like kind of eat clean for a couple of days before you get here so that you can get the full benefit of coming onto this. So this pre-fast prep, I believe that refeeding, so the phase 4 is the most important one, but in order to get an easier run in with, say, less headaches or detoxing kind of aspects, it comes down to what you do beforehand. So yes, Nat, sorry about that. I just wanted to make that really clear.
No, thanks for that. Yeah, no, that's very true. So one of the, as I said, one of the big things that I did was a month before I knew I was going to be fasting, that I went meat free. And again, entirely up to you. If you're on a keto diet, obviously you're not going to give up meat because it's a part of the keto diet. But a keto diet can be a good way to actually introduce or go into a fast, because, as I said before, you're already creating ketones in the body. You're cutting down the amount of carbs that you're having, which takes you out of ketosis. And you're eating a lot of fat, which is putting it into ketosis. And so you're going to find going into a fast a lot easier. I don't do keto, or we don't do keto. We've tried it before. It's not something I really gel with, to be actually honest. And so I choose not to do it. But there are a lot of doctors who believe in fasting that actually do keto diets as well. So it is actually quite a legitimate diet to be on. Intermittent fasting. Now, if you're doing this is a great way to lead into a fast. And looking at the amount of time that you're doing each day for your intermittent fasting, getting less and less in the window of eating can be a great way to get into a fast as well. So if you can get down to 23:1 or something like that, then you're pretty much on a fast anyway. So just breaking it down little bit by little bit of how much you're actually eating, that window of eating each time. So if you're doing 2 or 3 weeks before on intermittent fasting, if you don't normally do it now, then that can be a really good way to jump into a fast as well.
I'll just make mention that the kind of the threshold, like Nat mentioned 18 hours of going into a type of food before, but it's kind of between 16 or just after 16 hours. So if you can look at a 16-8 as a preparation for your pre-fast, 8 hours worth of eating is actually pretty reasonable, and it's very easy to adjust to. And then maybe after that, you look at maybe a day or two of cutting back down to 18-6. So you then go from 8 hours worth of eating down to 6 hours worth of eating. And it's amazing how you can just do it. It is really quite interesting.
Yeah. Then the next phase would be jumping into just fruits and vegetables only. And it's going to serve you well, doing this part of the phase, because you're going to be topping up your vitamins and minerals for a start. So you're not going to be taking lots of vitamins and minerals in. You're going to have some minerals when you're on a fast, but those vitamins are going to be missing. So to really top up before you jump into a fast can be a really healthy way of doing it. And also, when you stop eating, your colon's not going to keep, moving food through it. So you want to try and clean that out of any sort of chemical foods or fast foods or meat and things like that. You don't want those things sitting in your stomach while you're doing a fast. And so fruits and veg are a good way of doing that. It starts to give your system a rest. So it's starting to get into a fasting sort of state. If you're on extended fasts, I would certainly do about a week of fruits and vegetables only. If you can do raw, even better. But on shorter water fast, you probably only need a couple of days of fruits and veg to get into it. So you can mix it up. You can have smoothies, stir fry, salads, whole fruits and fruit salads, vegetable soups, raw and cooked. As I said, if you can do raw, that's even better than cooked stuff, but that's fine. Cooked is okay. That's fine. Then we're going to move into a juice only phase as well. So we're going down. We're taking out certain things. We're starting to do intermittent fasting. We're going to do fruits and veg only as the next part. So there's a couple of stages that we're just weaning ourselves off heavier foods, giving our digestive system a little bit of a break, cleaning out the colon, and then getting into the actual fast itself. So the last part of that, and you may choose to stay on this, is the juice only phase. Now, as I said before, juices are great because they take the fiber out, largely. They're not fiber free, but they are definitely taking a lot of the fiber out. And then you're just left with pure nutrients, really. And so this is a great top up for the body before you jump into a fast. So loads of nutrients, micronutrients, and vitamins and minerals. One really good juice is called Kabbalah juice. So that would be, it stands for carrots, one type of apple, so a green apple, beets, another type of apple, so maybe a red apple, lemons, and another type of apple, which might be a yellow apple. So 3 types of apples, beets, carrots, and lemons. So you're getting all the colors of the rainbow, and it tastes awesome. Like we make that quite a bit, Kabbalah juice, so it's actually a really good one to be on. And look to do it for a couple of days before you jump into a juice fast. Into a water fast. So before and afters, before you jump in, I'd also would strongly suggest that you get your bloods done. So not just out of interest to see how things got better in your body, but also to make sure everything is fine in your body as well for a fast. And just see, doing something like that, we can see what's happening on the outside of the body, but seeing what's going on in the inside of the body is really quite helpful. I actually also got the Body Map app. So you can just download it for free on Apple. I assume you can do that on Android as well. And it gives you one free scan. So it will take photos of your body as you turn around, tells you how to do it all. And it'll give you a 3D image of what your body looks like now and all the measurements. So your biceps and your thighs and calves and all that sort of stuff. So you've got measurements of everything before you start, but you only get one free scan. So you probably want to grab somebody else's phone, your partner's phone, and download the Body Map app and do it after you fast as well. So then you can
That's only because we're tight asses and we didn't want to pay for the app.
It's very expensive. It's like $80 a month or something. So that's why we didn't pay for it. But it does give you all different angles of your body so you can see what's happening. And then I would suggest that you take some photos, before and after photos. You've seen a couple of mine. Just that visual, different angles. Get your face up close so you can see what's changing on your skin without makeup on, and see what's happening in different parts of your body as well. I think that's just great to see for your own benefit, because while weight loss may not be your number one priority in fasting, it's a damn good thing. It does get sort of pretty addictive when you're losing weight, at a pound a day or thereabouts. Some days more, some days a little bit less, but it does get, and it's like, wow, this actually is really cool that I'm losing so much weight as well as healing my body. All right, finally at the fast. So there is a lot of prep to get to a fast, but doing the prep definitely, as Jodie said, will make it a lot easier for you. It's a lot less taxing on the body. I've done a 5-day water fast before with no prep whatsoever, and no daily rituals, which I'm about to talk to you about. And it was painful and probably almost downright dangerous the way I was doing it. So definitely the prep stage will help with the headaches and just the general things that you're feeling. It's probably a mental preparation, but it's probably more a physical preparation before the fast. So daily rituals are really now, once we're on the fast, is going to be the difference between a good and successful fast and another fast that's really horrible and horrible experience. So there's 4 ways to eliminate toxins and waste from the body, and these become really important. And that's through respiration, perspiration, urination, and defecation. So because the fast is actually pulling out toxins from your body at a very rapid rate, you need to be dumping them. You need to get them out of your body. And the daily rituals are going to make sure that you're doing that at the pace that your fast is doing it. Because if you're ever going to get a headache or feel really nauseous or very tired on a fast, it's because you've got toxin buildup and it hasn't come out yet. So we want to make sure that we're trying to keep pace with the fast. So keeping track of your daily rituals is definitely one way to make sure that you keep doing them. And in the course that I'm putting together at the moment, I'm using Notion, which is what I used for my fast. And I found it really good. So I just created a spreadsheet basically of all the things that I would do on the fast each day. And I would just tick and flick as I went along. Some days I didn't do different things. You can see that I didn't do some of my breathing exercises. But I was making sure that I was, probably more than anything, making sure I got enough water. It's really important to have enough water in your thing, and some of the different rituals here that I'm going to go through as well. Weighing in. So I think I just touched on this. You are going to be losing about a pound a day on average. So you sort of want to see that coming off. It really is a nice little hit each morning to be able to see, wow, I actually lost a pound or more, maybe a little bit less. I think one day I even went up. I'm not quite sure.
It tends to be more at the start, and then it'll sort of balance out. So you have your average by the time you end.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, it was pretty consistent through the fast itself. But you want to weigh in first thing in the morning. So do your pee or whatever you need to do, and then weigh in then, and make sure it's the same scales in the same place and things like that. And then keep track of it. So I made sure that I kept track each day what my actual weight was in pounds and kilos, how much I was actually lost in total, and how much I was losing each day. So this is quite interesting to see how much I was losing each day. So one day I lost 3.2 pounds after a 0.4 the day before, 1.2, another 4 pounds here, 1.2s, a couple of less, a couple of ones. So it does vary a little bit. And then you get this, they call it swooshing, is, you go along and you don't lose very much at all. Then all of a sudden you might lose 3 or 4 pounds in one day. And it's like, whoa, what do they do different? That was from yesterday. It doesn't feel like I did anything. That's your body dumping toxins as well. Toxic waste actually has a weight in your body, and you're getting rid of that. So keeping track of that is pretty cool. I think it's just really fascinating to see how the weight comes off. The water itself, most important thing, this thing that's going to keep you alive. You should be normally consuming about 1 liter for every 22 kilos of body weight. So that's about 48 pounds. So you have to do that calculation. For me, at the weight that I used to be, was about 4 liters a day. And most people would say, oh, I just drink, a liter or 2. And that was probably all I was doing. I was like, holy crap, I actually should be drinking tons more water than that on a normal day when I'm not even fasting. So your body actually needs tons of water. And on a fast, you need to double that. So that was like 8 liters a day, technically, that I should be having on a fast. Obviously, I was losing weight, so it was getting less and less. But it was definitely a good, 6 or 7 liters that I should have been having every day at my weight. So I found that drinking a liter or 2 first thing in the morning was one of the best things that I could do. It would kill any hunger that I had and would give me a good flush out. It would normally make me want to go to the toilet, which is weird on a water fast when you sort of feel like you've got nothing left in your stomach. I was still actually going to the toilet, not every morning, but some mornings. So at least my system was flushing. And things were happening. I always stored my water in glass bottles. I think that's better than plastics and aluminium. I was really just trying to cut down the amount of toxins I was taking into my body during the fast. So it was just making it easier on my body. And the 1 liter bottles were great because then I could measure it a lot quicker. So I definitely would recommend that. Don't drink tap water, especially if you're in Mexico. You wouldn't do that anyway. But drinking bottled water or filtered water, just make sure it's, really good water. And chew your water, which sounds really weird, but the exercise of chewing, because you're not doing that when you're on a fast, you're not chewing anything. Chewing water or chewing whatever you've got the intaking keeps that system alive. It's remembering that, the act of chewing actually just keeps your digestion system flowing a lot better because that starts that process in the mouth. All right, must-haves, electrolytes. This is definitely the difference between a safe fast and a really dangerous fast. Electrolytes maintain, you probably have heard about Gatorades and Powerades and all the rest of it. So they're electrolyte drinks. They're not strong enough for a fast, so I wouldn't be having commercialized electrolytes when you're on a fast. Grabbing your Powerade, yes, it might help, but it's not strong enough for what you need on a fast. So electrolytes maintain the body's fluid balance, muscle and nerve function, and they regulate your blood pressure. They're absolutely essential to your health. So you must have electrolytes when you're on a fast. And when I said that my fast that I was doing back in Canada, I did a couple of fasts actually, that were probably dangerous because I didn't have electrolytes. I didn't know about them. So I probably wasn't having anything like I should have been having, even on a 5-day fast. Lucky I didn't go any longer by not having any electrolytes. So missing electrolytes on a fast can be really dangerous. You can get muscle cramps and weakness all the way through to heart attacks and seizures. So they really are quite that important. And you want to make sure you have sodium, potassium, and magnesium every single day. So if you're feeling any of these symptoms on a fast, not that I expect you to remember these, but I can give you copies of these slides. then it might be because you're missing these particular electrolytes. And yeah, some of these are quite bad. Arrhythmia and heart palpitations. And as I said, things like heart attacks and things like that. If you go long enough without electrolytes, that's sort of where you can end up. You may, along your journey, hear about snake juice. It's just a particular type of electrolyte drops, but you can also make it yourself. So the ingredients are Himalayan or table salt, potassium, baking soda, food grade Epsom salts, and put that into water. So you can make it yourself, or if you want it to be a little bit easier, you can actually buy electrolyte drops. And that would be the way that I would probably, like, unless you're going to do this, I would encourage you to get some electrolyte drops. And you can just pick them up at a health food store or Amazon, and just make sure that they've got enough of the ingredients that you need, those particular electrolytes. They should have, and they should also have trace minerals as well. So they should have extra stuff. And just make sure it's enough for your fast. And then you just drop it in water. That's it. It's quite salty. So I found putting salt or electrolyte drops into normal water, I was a little bit gaggy. I've had salt water before and I've actually thrown up from it. So I think I remember that. But another way to do it was to put it into mineral water, which is already salty anyway. And I found it was just even more salty. So it didn't actually feel as bad. Himalayan salt is great. And a lot of people will say, oh, just put salt in water, add salt to water. If you've got a headache on a fast, or you're feeling a bit nauseous, put salt in water. But it's not enough on its own. You really need those extra trace minerals to put in as well into your water. So the electrolyte drops, lucky we had a friend of ours that lent us some electrolyte drops, because I don't know how freely available they are in Mexico. But yes, so I was adding that to water each day. Yeah. Other must-haves, salt. We were just talking about Himalayan salt, and sea salt can be used on shorter fasts, but you need iodine as well. On a longer fast, you need to have iodine. So you need iodized salt, table salt, and vitamin Bs. So just about vitamin B complex, because if you're not having meat in your diet, you miss out on vitamin B12. So you need to actually top that up by having B vitamins. And they make you feel better. And I didn't find, sometimes I find multivitamins make me a bit sick with no food, but B vitamins I've actually found okay with just having with water, and it's been enough. Oil pulling. Who here has done some oil pulling before? Heard of it? Yeah. So oil pulling has been around for a long time. It's an Ayurvedic practice. And it basically is taking, you can take any oil, but I find that organic, make sure it's organic. Coconut oil is one of the better ones because it tastes a bit better. And you're going to take a tablespoon of oil and put it into your mouth. So it's either liquid form already, if you live in a hot place, or it's solid and it'll melt. And just keeping that in your mouth, swishing it around your mouth for a good 20 minutes. You want 15 to 20 minutes of that. And then throwing it out in the garden. Don't put it down the sink because it'll solidify and block your sink. And it's full of toxins. Make sure you're not drinking it down. But what oil pulling is doing is pulling all the toxins from the mouth. The mouth holds a lot of toxins when you're fasting. When you stick your tongue out on a fast, it's going to be pretty white. And that means that you're pulling tons of toxins out from all over your body. So you want to be doing oil pulling before you have a drink of water in the morning. I know that's sometimes really hard because you like wake up and think the first thing you want is a drink of water. Sometimes if I really wanted a drink of water before I pulled oil, because it was really dry in Mexico at times, and it's just like you're just dying for a drink, I would just clean my teeth and I would clean my tongue with my brush. We've got a water picker, so I would do that on my tongue and make sure just my mouth was really clean. And then I would have a drink of water, because if you drink water, as soon as you wake up, you're putting all the toxins in your, that's coming to your mouth during the night straight back into your stomach again. So you want to try and avoid that as much as possible.
If you haven't done oil pulling before, I do suggest not going in dry mouth for the first time, because it's very drying just that first time you're doing it. So maybe do the tongue cleaning with your toothbrush, have a bit of a sip of water before you do your first oil pull, because I found it so incredibly dry. I was starting to like gag. I was starting to dry reach.
Yep, very effective. Even outside of a fast, oil pulling you can do once a week. And it will do some good. It'll also help your teeth and your gums as well. So if you have gum and teeth issues and you have bacteria in your mouth area. This is a good way of killing bacteria in your mouth, and your teeth will be a lot whiter and brighter. Enemas, yay! We love enemas. Enemas, they're not very nice, but they are super, super important on a fast, because if you think about it, you're not taking in food anymore, and so your whole digestive system stops. And you don't want food sitting in there for 3 days, 5 days, 7 days, a week, 30 days, however long you fast for, before you get that system moving again, because everything's rotting. So you need to get that out. So you need to create that movement. So an enema basically is just, this one here is similar to what we have, and there's all different types of enemas. We used to get bottles, squeezy bottle things and all that sort of stuff. So in case you don't know what an enema is, you're going to stick a whole bunch of water up your butt, which goes into your intestines. So it's going up instead of going down, what normally happens in your digestive system. You're actually pushing water up into your system. So it's the same as colonics. If you've had colonics before, they'll stick a hose up your butt and you can watch all the stuff go past on a tube, which is very interesting. But yeah, and there's different ways of doing this. In the course I'm going to put together, I will do an instructional video on enemas, which will be interesting. But so there's different ways of doing it. But this is a normal, what you see on the screen here is a normal standard sort of setup for an enema. So it's a hot water bottle, you hook it up, you fill it with water, warmish water or salt water. Some people will do coffee. I don't drink coffee. Jodie and I don't drink coffee, so I'm not putting it in my mouth. So I'm certainly not putting it up my butt. Apparently coffee enemas are very good for you as well. It does give you a little bit of a buzz from the caffeine. You're hanging it up in the shower or wherever you are. Bathroom's probably best. And it's just gravity fed. It's got a long hose which goes in your butt, and you turn on the valve. You have a valve that you can switch things on and off, and you just let it run until you fill up with as much water as you can. Leave it there for a couple of minutes. It's basically, if you think about, we've got 30 feet of intestines in us. And so there's lots of nooks and crannies where even if your system is clean, it's going to keep pulling stuff out. So even after a 2-3 week fast, where you've not taken any food in, you're actually still pulling stuff out. It's quite amazing. And each time the water's getting further and further up into your system and cleaning things out. So it's really healthy. Because your body is dumping toxins, you need to get them out, because otherwise you're going to feel really sick and really headachy. So if you do start to feel really headachy on a fast, going and doing an enema can really help sometimes and make you feel a lot better. So that's enemas, and they should be done once a day. You can do them twice, but once usually is enough. All right, releasing heavy metals. I decided on my last water fast that I would do this and add this element to the fast, and it's taking clay. So often you'll see walking dogs, dig, or we might see them in the backyard. They dig and dig and dig, and then they start eating dirt and clay. And it's like, what on earth are you doing? And they're trying to get clay because clay actually pulls out toxins from the body. And it's been a very effective method of doing that for a long time now. So you want food grade clay, and one of them is called bentonite clay, just because of the region it comes from in the US. But it can be found all over the world, and there's different types of clay, but bentonite was the one I used, and it was really good. It's just a really fine powder. It's actually a volcanic ash, and you mix it with water. I found drinking cold water better. I don't know why, but cold water made it easier to drink. It's a very gritty, sort of grainy thing. It doesn't have a lot of taste. It's just a very earthy sort of taste. So it's not intrusive in terms of taste. It's just a very gritty sort of substance. And so you mix it around in water, make sure it's fully dissolved, drink it down. And you might need a few gulps of water after that because you'll be full of gritty stuff in your mouth. But bentonite, like other clays, actually has a negative charge. And toxins have a positive charge. And so when they find each other, they connect. And the clay, because it's a heavy, gritty sort of substance, it's not going to be absorbed into the body. It just stays in the digestive tract. It pulls everything through. And so I was finding that when I was going to the toilet in the morning, there was a whole bunch of gritty stuff that was falling to the bottom of the bowl because it was the clay that was coming through. So it was actually washing all of the toxins through and pulling it out. But it's a great one for pulling heavy metals from the brain in particular. And you want those off the brain because they give Alzheimer's and dementia. So if you can, and I was actually, funnily enough, I was so tuned into my body after a time on the last fast I did, the bentonite, when I was taking the bentonite clay, I could actually feel it pulling stuff from my brain. Like at one stage, I was like, oh my God, I have this weird pulling sensation in my brain. This is so weird. But I really feel like it was actually the clay doing its job and pulling things through. Pesticides and other contaminants, which is terrific. So you only need a little bit. You can take more of it if you wish on a fast, but it's something to be taking maybe once or twice a week, just on your normal lifestyle, and it will help relieve those heavy metals. I don't know about you, but I've got a mouthful of mercury fillings, thanks to my dentist way back when I was young, and guaranteed I've got mercury floating around in my system. And it's the heavy metals that can affect behavior and memory and all those things that we sort of think, oh, what's wrong with me? I don't feel quite right. And it's like, could just be heavy metals that are sitting there that need to come out. Like a lot of native Americans and Aboriginals in Australia used to carry, I don't know if they still do, but they used to carry clay with them in case they were poisoned. So they're trying out different berries and things that they can eat. They're trying to discover their landscape of where they moved to. And so they will carry clay in case they do end up being poisoned. So that's really what clay is for, pulling out those sorts of things. So it's pretty cool. Let your skin breathe. Skin is the largest organ in the body, and it's a great way of releasing toxins. But the problem is we put so much stuff on our skin all the time, moisturizers and
sunscreen, makeup,
sunscreens, yeah, that sort of
and
thing.
now we get to put vodka on it.
And now you can't drink vodka when you're on your fast, but you can certainly put it on your body. So this is called gusher. So gusher is an old, ancient remedy or technique that they used to do to really clean the body. And I must say, when you put gusher on your body, it'll probably be the cleanest your skin has ever been and ever felt. It just feels absolutely amazing. It's a mix of bicarb soda and vodka. So the alcohol, which while it can be a little bit drying on the skin, actually is killing the bacteria and the yeast and the fungus and the parasites and the plastics that sit on our skin that we think are not there. It's killing all of those things. And so you're going to end up with a really super clean skin that can breathe finally. And it'll actually feel like that when you do it. It actually feels very soft on your skin. Your skin comes out very soft. We have tried it at times when we've been in Mexico and where there's like 10% humidity. So eventually your skin gets very dry because it's got alcohol in it. But I think under normal weather and circumstances, you could be using this quite a bit. You should do it on a fast for about the first 10 days each day to make sure that your skin is breathing and you're releasing the toxins from your skin.
Primarily body skin. I was just making a note in the chat there that using it on your face is very drying. Your face skin is a lot more sensitive, but your body can definitely handle it during the fast.
Yeah, I have put it on my face. I wouldn't do it regularly on my face, but once a week I think is fine on your face to give it a really good clean. It's really a good clean. Think of it like that. So, and then after that, you can put on whatever you like. I try to, when I'm on a fast, after my enema, I will have a shower and do gusher. And then I try to put nothing on my skin. I try to leave no moisturizers on my face, no deodorant, and just let my skin breathe for as long as I can put up with it. Sometimes it gets a bit drying, as I said, and eventually you want to put on some moisturizer. But if you can sort of give your skin a little bit of a break from things and actually just let it do its thing, then that's pretty healthy. Moving, I've already talked a little bit about exercises. You're going to be dumping a lot of toxins, and movement is a really effective way to actually get into all those joints and muscles and ligaments and things like that. Stuff that may not have moved so well prior to a fast now is going to you're going to have a lot more flexibility, a lot more movement in things in your joints. And so you want those lubricated, and you want new liquid, like lubrication getting through there. You want to get the toxins back out, and movement is definitely a really good way of doing that. Movement also helps the muscle strength, so you're not losing your muscle from doing no exercise. So it can be things like Tai Chi. Walking is a terrific movement exercise as well. Yoga is fantastic because it's actually bending and getting into some ligaments and getting things moving as well. when I do my course, I'm going to do a movement video, which will make sure that it gets into all the different nooks and crannies of your body to really free those up. And you feel amazing. Like once you've done this on a fast and you really do get things moving, it actually feels like you're moving stuff, and it's really quite cool. Yeah.
Fiona's just asked swimming, and I would say 100% yes, but it's also extra movement, like really, even while you're in the pool, like really.
Yeah. Even things like just
aerobic,
hitting
but
yourself, like waking
hitting
up.
yourself.
Yeah, like waking up your nervous system as well, because the nerves, need to keep moving. And they've got their own toxins, and they want to release toxins as well. So those sorts of things. It's not just the normal movement we might do from swimming or going for a walk. It's actually really getting in and moving things and hitting things and stuff. Sometimes you'll get that in a massage where they end with that sort of thing of beating you up. But that's why they're doing it. It's actually helping that process. All right, relax and sleep. You're probably not going to need so much sleep, because sleep actually is to heal the body. And now you're actually healing it 24/7. So you'll probably find you don't need a lot of sleep. You might find 4 or 5 hours is enough, because you've got actually more energy, and you want to get going on things, and you've got more clarity. So maybe you want to get up and do stuff. But relaxation to me in a fast really is doing what you love, like taking the time to sit and relax and read a book or have a bath, do an Epsom salt foot soak in the afternoons, as Jodie and I were doing that for a while. So we were just sitting and maybe reading or watching TV or something, and just soaking our feet in Epsom salts, which is a terrific way to detox as well. Your creativity is going to be really heightened when you're on a fast. So use that opportunity to create something new, like whether you do something physical around the house, or you paint, or you draw, or you start a new business. I don't know, like I did. And you start, getting into a new project, which is really quite fun. But take the time for yourself. This is the time you're going to want to sit and ponder. That's what I found, is like I didn't want to be just go the whole time. I actually wanted to just sit on the lounge, stare, or outside, and just stare into nothingness. I did a lot of that on the fast, and it just felt right to do that and really just ponder things. All right, the secret hacks. To me, these are about not necessarily the physical side of a fast, but the mental side of a fast. And I feel like if I make the mental side of a fast easier to cope with, then I'm going to want to keep going with it, and B, I'm going to want to do it more often, which is all just really healthy stuff. So if up to you whether you incorporate these or not. If you want to be 100% purist and only drink water, then that's perfectly fine. You have to go with what feels right for you. But these is what the different things that I incorporated that helped a lot. So water, I was doing infused water, and we found kiwi and cucumber was really delicious. And so you might need a water infuser. We have one of those, and you stick the fruit down the middle and water on the outside, and it's just pulling out all the vitamins and minerals, which is terrific, and drinking those. And flavor, that's really all it's got. It hasn't got hardly any calories. It's probably got a couple of calories in it, but at least it's something different, and it's cold, and it just tastes something different other than just water all the time. Mineral water was really good too, because it's also a good way to get salts in. It's a great way to put your electrolytes in, so that you're not feeling them as much or tasting them as much, which can feel a little bit sickly at times. I did do juice in water, and I found just orange juice. I would just juice an orange, pour it in some water. Again, just a different flavor. Does it involve a bit of digestion and a bit of spiking of insulin? Yeah, probably, because it's got some sugar in it. Take it or leave it.
But one thing you definitely did cut out, which was very important to your pre-fast, you were doing lemon water pre-fast,
Yes.
but you did cut it out during the fast.
Thank you for reminding me. Yes, normally I would do lemon water each day for alkalizing the blood, which is super important. The blood needs to be a certain balance, and it's slightly alkaline. So if you're eating a lot of sugary foods, which I was, then that's a good way to balance out your blood. So, but once you get onto a fast, your blood is going to be alkalized anyway, and it doesn't need any more alkalizing. So I would definitely, if you do lemon water or lime water, any of those sort of alkalizing things for your blood normally, each day I would stop that on a fast, because you don't want your blood to become too alkaline, because then you cause more issues on the other side. So just let your blood do its thing on a water fast. It's actually, becoming as good as it can get in your body already from the fast itself. Thanks for reminding me. Okay.
The other thing is, because we don't experience it, we're not big tea or coffee drinkers, but Fiona's just asked about herbal teas like chamomile or peppermint.
Yep, they're fine. If they contain caffeine, then maybe not. Entirely up to you. That's where you got to use, again, your intuition and see how that feels for you. If you have caffeine on a fast, it's going to really affect you because you've got nothing else. It's not dulled down anymore. So I think that's one thing to keep in mind. Everything on a fast is amplified. Your taste buds, your smell, caffeine, like anything you are taking into the body, you're really going to feel the effects of. So just watch, caffeine type teas, but herbal teas are fine. No problem at all. And they're good. They can help you relax a little bit more as well and do some good for the body. The big one that made a big difference to the mental aspect of doing a fast for me was veggie broth. So just getting a pot full of water and bunches and bunches of all sorts of veggies in it. I'd watch too hot stuff because obviously your stomach probably is not going to tolerate hot chilies and things like that. But a little chili in for 10 minutes or so and then take it out was enough to ramp it up a little bit. I put some herbs in as well. And the big key one was lentils, green lentils. So that gave it that real earthy flavor. Of course, you're going to take all of this stuff back out of the water. You're only having the water itself, the broth. So it doesn't matter what you're putting in there. You're just trying to get flavor into the water, basically, and some vitamin and minerals into the water as well. So it's a great way of also getting some vitamin and minerals while you're on a water fast. But the lentils just gave it a little bit of body and made it a bit different. So I did do one without lentils and it wasn't very good. So the lentils definitely are a bit of a key ingredient. Just put in a big pot, giant pot, and let it simmer. You want to bring the temperature up really slowly because you don't want to break the vegetables down and the vitamins and minerals. You want them to stay as stable as possible and in the broth. So just keeping it on a low, very, very low heat, lowest heat for an hour or so. And then just drain it, take everything out. And there's your veggie broth to have.
So Chris has mentioned cabbage would be great. We're just going to share, like inside the course that Nat's putting together, we're going to share the actual recipe or the ingredients we use. But, compared to some of the people in this room who are incredible cooks, you guys will get super creative as well. But I do remember when Hannah and our friends were over and you, after the pizza cooking, you did come out with your cup of your dinner. Which was very much a psychological thing. So having that cup of soup, even though it was just straight liquid, Denise felt bad tasting it because she thought she was taking food off you. But everybody loved the flavor of it. It smelled great. And psychologically for Nat, she would look forward to that at the end of the day. That was her dinner, having sort of two cups of the broth.
Yes. And I think that was it. It was dinner. I called it that. I was like, oh, 6 o'clock, time for dinner. And it made a really big difference to my day. Just having that one thing to look forward to. As Jodie said, I would just have 2 cups of it. And it was also a great way to get salt in. I would put a whole bunch of Himalayan salt or iodized salt into that. So that was another way to actually get my salt intake in. And it tasted awesome. So it was really good. And it was hot. Something slightly different. Fiona's talking about tea. I think that's great. If you can just have a little bit of hot fluids, it just seems to make a big difference at different times. And the other one was juice blocks. Now, this is entirely up to you whether you do this and incorporate this. We would make ice cube trays full of watermelon juice. And I would have 3 or 4 of those after my broth, after dinner. And that was my dessert. And it just, that ritual of the broth and then the watermelon juice blocks just made such a difference to everything, and I was quite happy to keep going on the fast because of that. So to me, it was about finding hacks like this that didn't have lots and lots of calories, didn't really interrupt the fast itself. It didn't add to my digestion and spike sugars. Certainly having watermelon juice will spike your blood sugars for a period of time, but it was so minimal. and for the enjoyment that I was getting. And I got to chew them too. Like, you're not chewing really anything other than, as I said, chew some water. You're not having that action. And so it's nice to do that with the watermelon or whatever juice you like. You can try different things. We did pineapple ones at one stage. I liked the watermelon ones better. Yeah, it's just that act of chewing. And to me, bringing those sorts of things in, and the infused water and a little bit of juice in water and things like that, just made things a little bit normal for me. I actually felt like I was having stuff throughout the day. It wasn't just water. So it felt like, to me, the fast from a physical sense was actually really easy. Once you get over those first few days, you actually just cruise along. It's actually really quite simple to keep fasting. And you want to keep fasting because you know how good it is. You're feeling so much better. You feel amazing on it. So you want to keep fasting. But to me, it was the boredom. I was just like, oh my God, some days I was just like, I just do not want any more freaking water. I cannot drink any more freaking water. So just mixing it up a little bit sort of stopped that happening. Having different types of water, for example, was better. So secret hacks, take them or leave them if you wish, but they certainly helped on my one as well. All right, refeeding. Important phase. This is probably one of the most important phases, really. This is where you start to secure your results from the fast and get back into eating. So it is almost more important than the fast itself. If you go in too hard, I've read ridiculous stuff in Reddit about people coming off 14-day water fast, 30-day water fast, 5-day water fast, and getting into lamb chops and baked potatoes and pulled out their favorite hamburger. And it's just like, are you serious? I couldn't even think about doing that once I'd finished a fast, but some people do. And then wondering why they felt so sick. Like, that was actually their question in Reddit. Do you know how long this bloating and sickness will last for, after I just had my lamb chops? So don't do that to yourself. You really will feel quite ill. I had a hamburger or something. It was about 2.5 weeks after I finished my fast, and it actually made me feel quite ill. So you really do have to take it very, very slowly coming back off. And this is where you'll put weight back on. So if you do jump in and you don't allow your body to readjust, it's had nothing, no food whatsoever for however long you've been fasting for. And the longer that is, the more extreme that is to your body to throw it back into having to massively digest heavy foods. It just doesn't cope with it. And that's why you feel so sick. It's just going to sit in your stomach and it feels really horrible, trust me. So how long should you go for? So the schedule sort of is at least half the time you fasted for. So if you did a 14-day water fast, you would do at least 7 days of refeeding plus a few days. I would say probably about 10 days in total. So that's sort of the thing you want to look at. If you've done 5 days, you would want to do at least 3 of refeeding and coming back into stuff. So you're going to do everything in reverse. All the stuff that you did in the beginning to prep to go into a fast, you're actually going to do in reverse now. So you're going to start with juice only because there's no fiber in it. So it's easy on your stomach. Again, you don't want too much juice. You'll actually get really sick of having all the juice. So maybe just a liter or so is enough on day one, and mix it with water. So you're almost on a water fast, but you're just incorporating a little bit more juice. And do that for 1, 3, 5 days. As long you'll know when it's time to come off the juice. I actually knew when. I did about 3 days coming back off, and I was like, I cannot drink any more juice. I'm so sick of it. And I knew it was time to go to the next level, which is then starting to bring in some of the soft foods. So you might have veggie soup, steamed vegetables, smoothies, soft fruits. Don't go into really hard stuff, hard vegetables and hard fruits, because your body really is not going to cope very well with it. But these sorts of things, these soft things, is enough. And you don't want too much of it. Don't go in for massive amounts, like some huge smoothie with 3 bananas in it, like I probably would do, and a whole bunch of things. It's just little bits at a time.
Again, it's still fitting in with that intermittent fasting is what helps. And Chris has made mention a really good thing about the chewing is important for nutritional tagging. That idea of chewing your water, chewing on ice cubes, whatever it may be. But it's probably just as important coming into your refeeding. You're getting that chewing action again. So you're actually taking it from the nothingness to chewing and remembering to chew longer and more purposefully, and it's very much a mindfulness type of experience, to bring the chewing back in.
Yeah, it definitely is. It is a mindfulness. It's actually, you start to feel the nutrients coming back into your body again, and it's like, wow, you can really feel that. Really chewing slowly. Like, if there's anything I can suggest, even outside of a fast, normally is chew, like chews, because once it passes through the chewing stage and it gets down into your guts, it doesn't get crushed any more than what it is. So if you're really inhaling food, which is what I do, I have to be so conscious of slowing down the process of eating food. And I think fasting really did help that. It slowed everything down. Everything seems slower when you're on a fast. It's actually quite cool. Time seems to slow down a lot. Then bringing in harder fruits and vegetables and salads, those sorts of things. And then the next level would be bringing in grains. So it really just depends on how long you've actually fasted for, about how long your refeeding needs to take, and just tuning in, seeing what's working, test something out and go, no, that doesn't say, that's not working.
The other level of the mindfulness aspect, and Chris has just made mention that it also tags the various nutrients for transportation to the parts of the body where the nutrient is needed the most. Yeah. And I think that mindfulness element of, one of the reasons why you don't want to go in and just, have your favorite sweetie dessert thing coming off a fast is everything is enhanced. Everything you taste, you can taste. Like ingredients of food, you literally taste. So I think that's a really good idea, that idea of chewing to tag, to say, right, nutrient, you got to go here, you got to go there, you got to go there. It's very much a mindfulness experience. And you'll be surprised at how much the sweet tooth just disappears. Fruit becomes just the most amazing sweet dessert thing ever.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's it. It's like fruit does become enough. And you just don't crave sweet. If you're a sweet tooth like I am, you don't crave it anymore. It's just not there anymore. And the binge eating and the addictions and all that, fasting is the one thing that can eradicate all of those things, if you do it long enough. But I was going to say too, like, Nikki, it's what Jodie has just said about the enhancement of the flavors and the smells of food that you have from a fast almost make the fast worthwhile in itself, because you cooking now and preparing food and sitting down to a really beautiful meal, you're just going to appreciate it 1,000 times more than what you were before, because everything is so enhanced, but everything is also said now more mindful in the preparation.
I was going to say the palate cleanser, where you have a sorbet to cleanse your palate to move on to the next thing. It's like, the ultimate 3-day or 5-day or 7-day palate cleanse.
It really is. Yeah, definitely. I mentioned before, it's 30 feet of intestine. So if you're not going to the toilet straight away, as soon as you come off a fast and you start eating, do not panic. You've got to fill up that tube again with food, so it starts getting pushed through. So it can take a couple of days for sure to start getting some movement. And I think we've already mentioned this: slow the process down. If you're feeling sick, then cut things out. Maybe it's actually telling you don't want it anymore. Maybe you don't want that food anymore. And take note of what makes you not feel well, and see how you feel about it. Ask yourself, be conscious, I guess, of what you start putting into your body now. We're almost finished, guys. Thank you for hanging in there. Probiotics and prebiotics. When you're doing enemas and you're cleaning out your system on a fast, everything gets taken out, including all the gut bacteria. So, and you need to replenish those at the end of a fast, because now you're going to start eating again. You need to actually start putting some of that stuff back in so it can digest, because that's pretty much what it does. It's helping you digestion as well as a whole bunch of other things. Yes, you can go and have things like sauerkraut, kombucha, kimchi, miso soup, full of probiotics. Be careful of buying probiotics and taking those, because they should be coupled with prebiotics. So prebiotics are the things that probiotics feed on. They're fiber. So they need to basically come together inside the gut to actually work properly, and to, for the probiotics to actually survive, it needs prebiotics as well. And a lot of those things don't have that. Sauerkraut and kombucha and things like that do actually have that. But the other source of it is actually just fruits and vegetables, particularly organic ones, because there's tons and tons of probiotics that sit on the skin of fruits and vegetables. Now, if you're washing them because they're full of pesticides and bits and pieces, you're not going to get those. So that's where your organic fruits do come in. So maybe even if you don't normally buy organic fruits, maybe do that at the end of a fast. And when you start to refeed, start buying some organic fruits so you can actually start topping up. You want to get a good range of fruits and vegetables back into your diet, because it's going to really start to populate your gut bacteria in a good range of different types. There's so many different ones that we need in the gut. And again, the fiber from the fruits and vegetables is the thing that the probiotics are going to feed on. All right, lifestyle, last thing, couple slides. Now you're fasted, definitely at least keep going with intermittent fasting. Your body's going to find it so easy to intermittent fast after fasting. It's just like a natural thing for it to want to do. And it's going to keep the weight off, and the benefits of the fast that you've already done is going to keep going. So coming off my last fast, I lost in 21 days, which includes 7 days of juice and 14 days of water. I lost 22 pounds, and I've only put 1 kilo, so that's 2 pounds back on, which I would say is food in my gut. So when I weighed myself at the end of 3 weeks, I obviously had no food whatsoever in my system. And so to put just 1 kilo of weight on, which is the amount that's probably just going through my system at any one time, is pretty amazing, I would think. So to me, that's testament of coming out of the fast really well, and not eating crazy stuff. Intermittent fasting at 24 each day, or as close to that as I can get, and just really eating lots more fruits and vegetables and stuff like that. So you can keep the weight off. You don't have to go back to putting it all back on again. That's a diet. A fast should actually reset your whole system, so you don't have that. A good intermittent fast time is 18:6. 18 is that sort of nice sweet number, where we start to get stem cells actually being produced in the body, and that's really healing for the body. It also helps your body get into autophagy each time, each day, and that's the replacement of the cells and tissues. So we're tossing out all the old stuff and we're replacing it with the new stuff. So that's a really good way to keep doing that. Ritualize yourself. Keep going with some of the daily rituals. They're awesome. Make sure you've got enough water coming in, 1 liter for every 22 kilos. Do your deep breathing and great respiration. Exercise still. Get some sunshine, vitamin D. That really enhances the whole process. Relax and unwind. 1 or 2 times a week. Do your oil pulling when you get up, and clean your skin with gusher, like we talked about. Weekly. Do an enema. And have a drink of clay. We'll do the clay first, maybe then the enema. But keep those going if that feels right for you. These are great ways to keep detoxing the body, and not, as I said, when you're going to get diseases and ailments and conditions when the body gets overrun with too much stuff going on in it. If you can keep it clear, just through prevention and some of these practices, then you're going to feel tons better. Whether you actually do an extended fast or not, doesn't matter. Weekly, you could look at a 40-hour fast every 1 or 2 weeks. So you'd eat normal for one particular day, then start at about, you just have your evening meal or a meal at, just before 6 p.m. So that would be your start. You'd only have water on day 2, and then you can finish at noon on the next day. So you've literally only had 1 day of no food whatsoever, and you've done 40 hours, which is pretty amazing. And again, 22 hours of autophagy, recycling of old cells on a 40-hour fast, and 12 hours of stem cell production. Fantastic for the body, really good. And quarterly extended fasting. So if you can do 5 or 10 days every quarter or so, that's really going to reset your whole process. You might do longer than 10 days. You might think, oh, this is really cool, and do 14, 20 days. It's going to do wonders for prevention and cleaning up your system, replacing your immune system, because that happens after 3 days, don't forget. Helps your digestion and weight control. And you're going to come out with new bodies each time. So that's it. That's fasting in a nutshell.
Thank you so much, Nat. Awesome job. Thanks everyone for being here and contributing.
Thank you for being here. It was lovely to talk about something I'm very passionate about right now.